Hello, I'm Dolores Cannon. For over 4 decades, working with regression hypnosis, I've heard wonderful stories from the depths of the human soul. Today, I invite you to join me on a special journey where we explore implants and hidden memories. These are experiences many people have shared through hypnosis, discovering small devices placed in their bodies for protection, along with fabricated memories to conceal contact with extraterrestrials. These stories are not fiction, but rather what I've recorded from thousands of hypnosis sessions where the subconscious reveals secrets that the everyday conscious mind doesn't recall. First, let me explain a little about regression hypnosis for those who are discovering it. It's a gentle method where I help people relax deeply until they can access profound memories, sometimes from past lives or distant places in the universe. There's nothing frightening about it. It's like a waking dream where you explore your being in a safe and loving way. I don't add or subtract anything. I simply listen and record what they say with all the authenticity that the subconscious brings. The woman was sitting in the light blue armchair in my small room in Arkansas. The window was ajar. The light of the setting sun filtered through the curtains, drawing faint stripes on the carpet. Her name was Margaret, an ordinary high school teacher who came in complaining of strange headaches and recurring dreams about white light. I placed my hand gently on her shoulder, my voice slow as a stream flowing over stones. "Margaret, now you just need to inhale deeply and exhale slowly. Feel the air coming in through your nose, filling your chest, and then leaving. Very good. One more time. Inhale. Exhale. Each time you exhale, your body becomes a little lighter. Your shoulders relax. Your head tilts slightly forward. Very good." I continued to guide her step by step, like leading a child up an old wooden staircase in Grandma's house. Now you see before you a long, 10-step staircase made of warm wood. With each step you descend, you go deeper into relaxation. 10. 98. Your calves melt like butter. Your knees are weightless. 4. 3. 2. Now you are at the bottom of the staircase in a softly lit room where everything is safe. Margaret breathed evenly, her eyelids tightly closed, her fingers relaxed on her thighs. I checked the depth by slightly lifting her arm and letting it go. The arm fell softly like cotton. She was in a somnambulistic state, where the subconscious opens like an unlocked door. And if the first question in a soft voice, Margaret looks around this light room. "Do you see another door?" She nodded slowly. "Go through that door. You will see what you need to see today." Her lips moved slightly. The voice came out. It was no longer that of the high school teacher, but Clara Lejana. "I'm in a white space, with no floor, no ceiling, just silvery light everywhere. There's a small point of light in the distance. It gets bigger and bigger." I quickly jotted something down in my notebook. "What is that point of light, Margaret?" "It's an oval, silver, shiny object, without wings or wheels. It floats a few steps away from me. A door slides open silently." I paused, my eyebrows slightly furrowed, not from fear, just trying to recall details. I step inside. The interior is larger than the exterior. A curved corridor, walls that glow from within, no shadows, no sharp corners, everything rounded, warm. I asked, "Is anyone there with you?" "Yes." 3 tall, slender figures, light gray skin, slightly large heads, elongated black eyes without pupils. They aren't wearing clothes, but they aren't naked either, as if enveloped in light. They look at me, say nothing, but I understand. Margaret stood in the middle of the corridor, the silvery light curving around her, flowing everywhere like warm water, without shadows, without echo. She continued counting in an even voice, as if reading from a book she had memorized long ago. The 3 entities approach. The one in the middle extends its hand, palm up. They don't have long fingers like in the movies, just 5 slender fingers, but not bony. In the palm is a small light the size of a bean, shining like a pearl. The light floats suspended in front of my chest. I'm not afraid, I only feel warmth. I jotted it down quickly, without interrupting. "What does that light do, Margaret?" "It dissolves like liquid smoke. Some of it enters my left ear, some my nose. A tiny bit penetrates the skin of my head just above my forehead. It doesn't hurt. Just a slight tingling, like when the dentist applies anesthetic. Then everything lights up in my head." She paused, inhaling deeply into the hypnotic state. Then they show me a screen, not a real screen, but like a sphere of light suspended in the air. Inside the sphere, I see myself, but not now. I see myself as tiny, lying in a cradle of light. Around me are other non-human hands. They are placing something in my neck just below my collarbone, a small, oval, light silver granule. She says, not with her mouth, but with her thoughts, "This is the protector. It will remember, it will protect." I ask gently, "What does the protector do?" "It monitors health. It sends signals when I'm in danger. It also blocks a part of my memory so I don't remember everything, so I can live normally on Earth. If I remembered everything, I wouldn't be able to bear it." Margaret smiled in her hypnotic dream, the corners of her mouth curving slightly. "They give me a false memory. I remember falling in school in 6th grade, hitting my head on the edge of the table, needing 3 stitches. But there was no fall, just the implant placed at that time. The false memory is a curtain. So that she won't ask questions, so that she won't be afraid. Continue guiding her. Can you feel the implant now?" "Yes, it's still here." She brought her hand to her neck, her fingers lightly touching the area below her left collarbone. "It's warm, it doesn't hurt, just like a small, still bean. Sometimes it flickers, I think when they check." Margaret continued. "They don't keep me for long, only about an hour on the ship, but when I return to Earth, only a few minutes have passed. They return me to the exact same spot on the bed in the residence. I open my eyes, I see my roommate asleep. No one knows anything, just a small scar on my neck that I always thought was from falling down the stairs." To add to the depth of this experience, I recall that in many other hypnosis sessions the implants are described in more varied forms. Sometimes a thin thread along the spine or a small sphere in the temporal region, always serving purposes of protection and connection. For example, a man named Robert recounted that his implant was placed in the back of his neck when he was a child, and the false memory was a minor car accident, but it was actually meant to help him maintain positive energy during difficult times, like a small battery that recharges the spirit. Margaret was still lying down, motionless in the chair, her hands resting lightly on her thighs, but her head tilted slightly to the left, as if listening to a whisper. Her voice was lower, almost a whisper, but every word clear. The 3 entities didn't move away. They positioned themselves in a triangle around me. The one in the middle was a little taller, with light gray skin, hairless, a slightly large head, but not grotesque, just different proportions. Her eyes were black, elongated, without whites, but not cold. They shone as if they held a small light within. When they looked at me, I felt seen, not observed, but truly seen. I asked, "What are they saying to you?" They didn't speak, they thought. The thought came directly to my head like warm water flowing into my ear. "You are one of us. You chose to come down to Earth to help. The implant is the bridge. We'll call you when needed." She paused, inhaling deeply. The one on the right raises her hand without touching me, just hovering a few inches from my skin. A beam of clear green light flows from her palm, scanning my neck, then my chest, then my forehead. The headache vanishes immediately, without tension, just lightness, like after a deep nap. I noted light healing without physical contact. "You sense they have emotions, Margaret?" "Yes. Not emotions like Earth's, but they have them. I feel their concern, like a mother watching her feverish child. There's no smile on their face, they don't move, but I know they're happy when I'm well. You think, she'll remember when the time comes." Margaret smiled in her hypnotic dream. "They're not arrogant, they don't command, they only guide. You think of Earth, images of brightly lit cities, noisy cars, then images of a peaceful garden, green trees. They think, she'll help bring this garden there. I don't understand everything, but I nod. I know I'll do something." Before leaving, the one in the middle places her hand on my forehead. This time it's for real. A little cold, but not uncomfortable. A starlit image. I'm standing on a hill, looking at the Earth from afar. All around are thousands of tiny points of light, like implants, blinking across the planet. They think, everything is connected, no one is alone. To add to this, I recall an entity in a session with a woman named Lisa, described as having metallic skin, and they communicated with colors instead of thoughts, where green represented healing, yellow knowledge, and her implant was a small bump in the palm of her hand, helping her feel the energy of others, always with the message of universal connection. Margaret remained still, but her shoulders were completely relaxed, as if she had released an old burden. Her voice lighter, almost a lullaby. They guide me down the corridor. I don't walk, I just float a few inches off the ground. To the left is a transparent wall. Through it, I see the earth, not a photograph, but the real thing, slowly rotating. Blue oceans shimmering, white clouds swirling. There's a small beam of light from the ship connecting directly to a point on Earth, exactly where I live. They think, this is your home. We're always close. I asked, do you go into another room? Yes, a round room, with no doors. In the center is a table, not made of wood, but a block of opaque white light at chest height. I'm told to lie down. I lie down, not cold, not hard, just warm and soft, like lying on a cloud. A circular ring of light descends from the ceiling, scanning from head to toe. With each scan, I see a memory appear, not memories of Earth, but others. I see myself as a child on a purple planet, running among glowing trees. I see myself as an adult on another ship, learning to control with my thoughts. Then I see myself, Margaret, in the classroom, teaching children about kindness. It's all me. My eyes are still closed, but tears are rolling gently down my cheeks. They say nothing, they just show me. Then the ring stops at my neck. The implant blinks 3 times. A thought comes. Your mission is to bring love down there. You don't need to remember everything. Just live. I noted multidimensional memory visualization without explanation, just images. How does time pass? Margaret. On the ship, I'm there for 3 days as I sleep. I learn. They give me a clear, odorless liquid. Drinking it makes me feel strong, like after a sunbath. But when I wake up in the residence bed, the clock only reads 5 minutes later. Nobody knows where I've been. She smiled more broadly. The most surprising moment, when the ring scans my heart, I see an image of myself, older, standing among a group of children telling stories about the stars. The children are laughing, eyes shining. I know it's the future. I will do it. The implant will remind me when necessary. To delve deeper into the experience in another session with a man named Thomas. He described the projection room as a giant sphere, displaying not only personal memories but also the history of Earth, including ancient events like Atlantis, shown as a film. He also mentioned his implant in his lower abdomen, which helped him control negative emotions, always reminding him that time on the ship was illusory, designed to protect his mind from confusion. Margaret opened her eyes in hypnosis, but her gaze no longer met the room in Arkansas. It stared far away, as if gazing at the entire night sky. Her voice was slow and clear, no longer that of Margaret, the high school teacher, but that of someone who had just been reminded of something very ancient. They don't speak much, they only think once. But enough for them to remember forever. Humanity is asleep. They dream they are small, but they are stars that chose to fall to illuminate the dark night. I asked, what do you want us to do? Nothing grand, just live. Live with kindness. Every time you smile at a stranger, every time you forgive, every time you choose not to be angry, that is a ray of light sent out into the universe. The implant isn't for control, it's a small radio that receives and transmits. When you love, it shines. When the planet has enough light, we will come not in ships, but in light. No one will be left behind. Only those who choose to remain in darkness will. She paused, inhaling deeply. They show me the new Earth, not another planet, but this Earth, but cleaner, more peaceful. The trees speak to the wind. The children know no fear. There are no wars because no one wants to fight. This isn't a distant future. It's our choice every day. I wrote down the message. Love is the frequency that opens the door. Margaret, they said something about those who don't believe. Yes, they think, every seed blooms in its season. Don't force it, just sow it. Margaret smiled for the first time in the session, her real smile returning. They said at the end, thank you for coming, thank you for staying, thank you for remembering. She whispered, when I wake up, I no longer have headaches. And I know that every time I teach children about kindness, my implant glows. I am not alone. We are not alone. To expand on this message in my book of Custodians, I have recorded that the entities emphasize that humanity is part of the universal family and the implants are a form of support in the transition phase, where the new earth is where positive energy dominates, releasing hatred to receive love. I have heard Margaret's story, but it is not the only one. Over the years of work, I have met hundreds of people, each with a small piece, but all pointing to the same big picture. I only record, without adding or taking away, without judging. Below are 3 more stories, each with its own details, but the message is the same, like a lullaby. Case 1. John, an engineer in Texas. John came in about a small scar behind his right ear, with no memory of where it came from. Under hypnosis, he saw himself at age 10 playing in the backyard. A sphere of silver light descended silently. 2 entities emerged, not tall and thin like Margaret's features weren't flat, but rather short and rounded, with skin as white as milk. They placed a small bump the size of a grain of rice behind her ear. A false memory. She remembers falling off her bicycle and hitting her head on a post. There was no bicycle, actually. That bump, according to him, acts like a biological clock. Whenever he's too stressed, it vibrates slightly, reminding him to breathe. John woke up to find the scar still there, but without the anxiety. To elaborate, John recounted that after the session he began dreaming of images of a distant planet where he had lived, and the implant helps him connect with other willing souls on Earth, forming an underground support network. Second case. Sarah, a nurse in England. Sarah was taken to a triangular craft with no windows, only golden light emanating from the walls. 3 faceless entities in long robes, just a bright space. They placed a small bump on her left wrist, right on her wrist. A false memory. She remembers being stung by a bee while gardening. There was no bee, actually. That bump helps her heal patients just by touching them. She doesn't know why. She only knows that when she places her hand on a wound, heals faster. Sarah awoke. She's still a nurse, but now she smiles more. Expanding on the details, Sarah shared that her implant sometimes emits a warm flow when she's caring for patients, and in later sessions, she recalled that the entity taught her about the universe's healing energy, helping her release fears from past lives. Third case. Carlos, a farmer in Brazil. Carlos saw himself in a disc-shaped craft, inside of a small forest, with trees, a stream, and birds flying. A single, tall entity, green skin, leaves without eyes, just a strip of light on its face. It placed a grain on the sole of his right foot. False memory. He remembers being bitten by a snake in the field. There was no snake. That grain makes his land always green, even in drought. Carlos awoke, continues farming, but now sings while planting. To elaborate, Carlos recounted that afterward, he began to feel the voice of the earth, and the implant connects him with nature, reminding him that extraterrestrials support the earth through individuals like him to balance the energy. 3 people, 3 different grains, 3 different false memories, but they all say, no, we don't invade. We support. The grain is just a bridge. Love is the signal. When enough remember, the earth will change. I record every word, every detail, adding nothing and taking nothing away, I just listen. Every memory is a piece in the grand picture of the universe, helping us better understand who we are. And our journey is never alone in this universe. We are always loved, watched over, and guided on our path. Thank you for joining me today. Carry love and light in your heart.